Now, you may be wondering, hey, he just kind of skimmed over that little part about the blacks mating with the Chinese to produce the Red Indian. Well, I'm gonna attack that right now. You may be wondering, were there even blacks in China? And the answer to that is yes. There were indeed blacks in ancient China. The skeletal remains from southern China are predominantly Negroid. The people practiced single burials, which is an African ritual. In northern China, the blacks founded many civilizations. The three major empires of China was the Jia dynasty, the Shang Yin dynasty, and the Zhao dynasty. The Zhao dynasty was the first dynasty founded by the Mongoloid people in China, called the Hua. The founders of the Jia and the Shang came from the fertile African crescent by way of Iran. Chinese civilization began along the Yellow River. Here the soil was fertile, and black Chinese farmers grew millet 4,000 years ago, and later soybeans. They also raised pig and cattle. By 3500 BC, the blacks in China were raising silkworms and making silk. The cultural hero Huang Di is a direct link of Africa. His name is pronounced in Old Chinese as Yuhai Handi or Hu Nak Kunte. He was supposed to have arrived in China from the west in 2282 BC and settled along the banks of the Low River in Shaanxi. This literal translation of Huang Yi to Hu Nak Kunte is interesting because Kunte is a common clan name among the Manding speakers. The Africans or blacks that founded the civilization in China were often called Li Min, meaning black-headed people, by the Zhao dynasty. This term has affinity to the Sumero-Akudan term Sa-ge-ga, black-headed people. These Li Men are associated with the Chinese cultural hero Yao. We know very little about the sounds of the ancient Chinese because ancient Chinese was very different from Old Chinese and Middle Chinese and the modern Chinese dialects. This results from the fact that the Chinese dynasties were founded by a diverse ethnic group. Jia and Shang Li, i.e. Black Shang, were founded by Dravidian and Manding speakers. Shang Yin was founded by classic Mongoloids, and the Zhao by contemporary Chinese. This explains the difference in pronunciation for ancient Chinese spoken by the Jia and Shang peoples and Old and Middle Chinese, or a variant thereof which is spoken by the Zhao people. The Shang characters compare favorably to the ancient Proto-Saharan script used by the Harappans in the Indus Valley, and the Manding script used in the ancient Sahara and Crete. Clyde Winters outlined the spread of the Proto-Saharan script to Harappa and throughout the Sahara African and Asian by the Dravidians and the Manding. Evidence of Chinese writing first appears around 2000 BC as pottery markings. The shell and bone characters represented writing. They were not pictures but wedges similar to African cuneiform. The Shang symbols compare favorably with ancient Manding symbols as well. Although there are different contemporary pronunciations for these symbols, they have the same meaning and shape. This suggests the genetic relationship between these scripts because we know that the present pronunciation of the Chinese symbol probably has little relationship to the ancient pronunciation of Chinese spoken in the Jia and Shang times when these characters were first used. This cognation of script supports the proposed Dravidian and Manding migration and settlement of China during the Jia times. The identification of the first hero of China, Hu Nak Kunte, as a member of the Kunte clan of the Manding speakers of Africa is supported by the close relationship between the Manding languages and the Chinese. Even though we do not know the ancient pronunciation of many Chinese signs, many Chinese and Manding words share analogy and suggest a Manding substratum for Chinese. I mentioned Black Shang, so I will further explain. There were two Shang empires. The first Shang dynasty was Shang Li, meaning Black Shang. It was ruled by Li Shang, or Black Shang. For the last 273 years of the Shang Empire, the capital was situated at Anyang. The Shang Empire based at Anyang was founded by the Yin nationality. We call this empire Shang Yin. Thus we have Shang Li Empire and the Shang Yin Empire. The Yin were classical Mongoloid people related to the Thai and other small Mongoloid Austronesian speaking people situated in Southeast Asia. The use of the blackbird as the father of Zhai relates to the blackbird as a popular totem of black ethnic groups in China. This indicates that the founders of Shang were of mixed origin. The bird myth I just mentioned, which is centered on the east coast of China, suggests black origin for Shang, since this area was the heartland of ancient China. Both the ancient Chinese and Africans had similar naming practices. As in Africa, the Shang child had both a day name and a regular name. The Shang child was named according to the days of the sun on which he was born. They were 10 days in each sun. These days are called the 10 celestial signs. In the mulberry tree tradition, one day 10 suns rose from a mulberry, and the archer Yi shot them down. He actually only shot 9 down. The suns in reality were birds. The bird myth refers to the blackbirds that founded the Shang dynasty. The fact that only one of the 10 birds survived the arrows of the archer of Yi may be related to the unification of the 10 clans of the Shang dynasty. The reference to blackbirds in the Chinese literature relate to the African origin of the Shang rulers. The use of the term blackbird relates to the fact that these blacks had a bird as their totem. There is a similar account in Native American history, where the blackbird rescues the red bird from the white bird, which retreats back into the caves. This analogy is a reference to the Negroid releasing the red Indian from the clutches of the European colonialism. We know that birds do not live in caves. The cave is a reference to the mountains of Europe, the Caucasus Mountains. And as far as blacks in Asia today, many Africans and Chinese mixed and moved far north into Tibet, where they become known as nomads and live a very similar life to the Africans in Kenya. The Dravidian speakers originally came from Nubia. They were related to the Sea Group people. The Shang culture was founded by the Kushites, thus the name Yi, meaning great bowman, thus corresponding to Stu, the name for the founders of the Tat Seti, the first monarchy in history. The Yi seem to have lived in both North and South China. Fu Sut Nin in Yi His Tunga Shao makes it clear that the Shang culture bearer remained allied to the rest of the Yi people who lived in southern China. The founders of Jia are usually referred to as Yue, as opposed to Yi. It would appear that most of Yi were Dravidian speakers, while Yue were Manding speakers. The first Shang king of Zhuan Wang, meaning black king, Zhuan means black. He was called Zhuan Di, meaning black emperor. The founder of the Shang dynasty was called Zhuan Nao, meaning black bird. Another Shang king was called Zhuan Mu, meaning black oxen. And the list goes on and on and on